Oh,
Okay, okay. We'll get into this here, and as people come on, we'll get it on. But we got this recording. Welcome everybody to our March monthly training. And before we get into our speaker, just want to hit on a couple of things. Ooh, can I do this here? There we go. Just a couple of things with NDPIO. For those that aren't aware, NDPIO has gone into a partnership with University of Mary. And University of Mary is offering scholarship to NDPIO members. So if you're looking to further your education, um, working to improve your education, all that stuff, University of Mary has scholarship programs for NDPIO members. So whether it's yourself or you want to share that with colleagues, one of the first things I did is I reached out to one of my employees and I'm like, hey, this is an opportunity. She's young, right? She's still in school mode. She can pull this off. You want to improve that. There's an opportunity for you. So you can learn more at ndpio.org/umary. We'll have more at our conference coming up this summer as well. But this is something new for NDPIO. Rob, great work on this one for massaging this one and getting this one to work. Speaking of our conference this summer is July 13th through the 15th at Bismarck State College. A couple of updates. Our registration for the conference will begin next week. I'm working with BSC, and we'll have that link available, so registration can start next week. And also confirmed now, I have it in my email is we are gonna, for the first time at our conference, we're gonna do a bit of a social event off site. So just keep this in mind. You're gonna get an email for a separate registration. We're going to go to a Bismarck Larks game on Tuesday night. We've got a limit to the first 25. We got room on their party deck. We can go as a group. It'll be $10. We have it separate than the conference registration because we're not sure within each organization if their organization will pay for a social thing. So it's going to be separate. But a nice thing with this is if your spouse comes with you or your kids come with you, they can come to the game. We're no problem with that. So all that coming forward, but conference registration will start next week. With that, remember that registration is cheaper for those that are NDPIO members. So don't forget that your membership is for a year. Lots of renewal emails went out, but if you're still, I forgot about it or I was going to do it, not, yeah, you can still do it. Don't forget to get your membership, your annual membership for NDPIO, and then that will give you a break come conference time in July. Um, we've gone on the road a few times. NDPIO has. We've gone on the road, and we're looking to go on the road again if you'll have us. The last time we were on the road was in early December. We went to Minot. Great turnout in Minot. If you are willing or looking to host an NDPIO get together in your community or in your region, or I think this is something that'll be beneficial to your area, reach out to us. Info at ndpio.org. Send us an email, and we'll work with you and come up with a place to do a meet and greet. We've done a few. We've done Fargo. We've done Minot. Rob, help me out. We did Valley City too as
What
well, right?
Watford City?
Watford City. Yep.
Yep.
Getting around the state. I think this is note to me that I need to get people to the northeast side of the state. So noted on my end. But if you'd like to host one and get the word out to other organizations in your area, we'll be glad to work with you. Our next training, so I don't want to jump ahead. We still need to, we'll have our training today, but our next training is April 16th. We'll be talking with Megan Jones from the National Weather Service out of Bismarck. Megan will be talking about, we're transitioning from winter weather to spring weather, spring/summer weather, and the work that the National Weather Service does with them. If you had a chance at our conference last year at the National Weather Service there as well, it's really helpful. It was really good information. So our training in April with the National Weather Service. Working the term in media is efforting, which means we don't have anything firmed up yet, but we're working on a couple of leads for May, and that'll be May 21st. So just to give everyone a heads up there of our upcoming monthly trainings. And if anyone is wondering, what is the third Thursday of every month? So that's how we land on these dates. Speaking of training, our training today is with Ambry Dunn. Ambry is the marketing coordinator for the city of Temple, Texas. A graduate of Stephen F. Austin State University, Ambry leads the content creation, social media strategy, and citywide communication efforts. She's especially passionate about highlighting city employees and telling their story, recognizing their work is essential to the daily operations and success to the community of Temple. So, Amber, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and allow you to take over and turn the floor over to you.
Thank you so much. I am so happy to be here. I'm so glad that you guys are having the city of Temple all the way from Texas. So yes, going to talk to you guys today about internal communications. I know the name that I think they shared was elevating your internal communications, but we also like to refer to it as the forgotten platform, which I think a lot of people can relate to. And so just going to walk through today with you guys some of our successes on our internal communications program, connecting with employees, and hopefully it'll give you some tips and tricks for your organizations. So, yep, this is me. I'm Amber Dunn, newly marketing manager of the City of Temple. So I'm hard launching that on this presentation. But yeah, I've been with the city for about 3 years now. I started in internal communications and just really grew a deep passion for employees and connecting with them. And, you know, they're the heart of any organization your employees are. And so connecting with them helps you connect externally. And so this, I'm happy to be here, happy to be with the city. So today's presentation, this is just a quick session breakdown of what we'll talk about, but we'll walk through some challenges that we've had, what developing our program has looked like, our successes, just some other tools, and then at the end we'll kind of wrap up with some key takeaways for you guys that hopefully will be helpful for your organization. So starting with some challenges, and I'm sure that your organizations can align with these things, and they'll probably resonate with you, but we found that these challenges were the most prominent things kind of in the gap of why are employees not connected and how can we communicate to them more effectively. So varying work locations and schedules, cities, counties, government, we have different types of employees. We have remote employees, we have hybrid employees, we have frontline workers, people that are out picking up garbage and fixing the streets, and then we have city manager's office or leadership. And so we identified that as one of our challenges. Technology accessibility. Our frontline employees currently don't have city emails. So how are we going to communicate to these employees and connect with them if they're not able to receive communication from us directly through email? Employees feeling disconnected. This was a big one. And it goes along with kind of the varying work schedules and the gaps in technology. How are we going to maintain engagement with employees that are all over this city constantly? And then no centralized internal communications. So that was one of our big things kind of spearheading this initiative was we had information coming from every single department, and it was not centralized. There was no one leading communications. There was no one leading the charge on, you know, how we're saying things or how we're delivering information. And so that's kind of how it all started, with these challenges arising and departments telling us these things and they're feeling disconnected. And so that's kind of where it all began. We're going to do a little game. I don't know if you'll have access to send chats, but this is something we like to do to try to get everybody kind of on the same page of where we were. So communications confessional, and if you're guilty of these, be honest, okay? So the first one is, have you ever deleted a citywide email or organization-wide email without even opening it? I know I have. Searched your inbox for information you know you saw, but you still can't find it anywhere. You have no clue who it came from, but you know you got it at some point. Created a flyer or assumed management would get the information out. That leadership was sent an email and it was just assumed that they would disseminate it down. Or reuse last year's message because honestly, no one's going to remember it anyway. Moral of the story, if you're doing these things, so are the employees in your organization. They're doing the exact same things you're doing. They're not reading their emails because it's come from IT and they think it doesn't apply to them, or they're just hoping for the best that leadership's going to tell them what's going on. So a little bit about developing our program. We started with these challenges, we identified these gaps, and where do we go from here? We had an employee focus group and survey. And so this kind of helped us get a pulse with our employees on what is their main goals and values of the organization. What do they want to see? What's important to them? Because if we're sending out this newsletter and they don't care about communication, they don't care about any of those things, then we're not filling a gap, and we're not addressing the issue. So surprisingly, from that survey, feedback indicated that communication was a top value for our City of Temple employees. And it was what we were lacking. And so after that, it was really just kind of a spiral of, okay, what do we do with this data? Like, what do we do with this information we have? We know that there are gaps. And so that's when we kind of started developing, okay, where does this live? Where does this internal communications initiative, where does it live? And where does it make sense? And so, human resources, they are the people's people. And a lot of organizations, they lead the charge in internal communication. They lead in charge of communicating to employees from day one of their employment. And so our core communications team felt it was super important to upfront at the beginning, get that HR collaboration and buy-in, because we identified these gaps in employee communications, and we knew that it was a priority from leadership in our city manager's office that we do this. And so we needed their help because they know up front what employees are getting on day one of employment. So based on that, we got with them, we created a list of duties and decided kind of where those responsibilities were housed. Where are these things that we want to implement? Where does it make sense to live? Who needs to be taking the charge and leading this initiative? And we'll talk a little bit about how we came to that decision. And so we worked with HR to develop a communications plan for employee groups. And that's kind of how it all started. Was we found this gap, we got with the people's people, and we kind of, came up with a plan on what to do next. We have this on the side, but another consideration is an internal communications policy. This is something that we've been working on, and again, super collaborative with HR. It's, at least for our team, that's what's working. But to just make sure that departments are involved in the policies and why we're doing this, and we're not just throwing things at them and telling them these processes without actual policy in place. So how we came up with this lives in the communications team. So what we did was we sat down and we got in a room with HR and we listed out all the tactics that we wanted to implement for employees, what we felt was important, what we felt like these things are going to reach our employees in the best way with the capabilities that we have at this time. And so we sat down and we were like, okay, our external comms team, we're already doing a digital newsletter. We're sending email campaigns. We're sending out text messages to residents, social media, printed marketing materials. We're already doing those things. And then when we looked at the internal comms tactics of what we wanted to implement, they were the exact same. So we wanted to implement a newsletter. We knew that email was going to be a huge way of communicating. We wanted to have employee texting, social media. And when I say social media, that's mostly LinkedIn, a lot of internal content for that one platform. And of course, printed marketing materials internally as well. And so for us and our organization, we're like, okay, it's clear here that this needs to live in the communications team. And we involved HR early, and that helps them kind of get that buy-in to say, okay, we'll hand this over to communications because we can see it laid out and this makes sense. So we're gonna walk through some successes of our internal communications program, walk through some highlights and just things that have worked for our organization and we found true benefit in. So the first one is our employee newsletter. This is something that we hadn't had in about 10 years. And prior to that, it was kind of every man for themselves. It was all kinds of content, all kinds of design, all kinds of things. And so when we developed this program, this was something we really, really wanted to bring back. And so we kind of reimagined and redesigned that. Our employee information portal was next. And this might be an employee intranet for you and your organization. That's what we used to call it. But we wanted to redesign again and reimagine that platform and make sure that it was being used as a resource and not just this file hub that is living and floating in the cloud and abyss. So we did some design on that. And then our new employee welcome packet. And this is another way that we collaborated with HR really, really closely, because we identified that gap that was missing the first day of employment, and them having information right when they begin. So we'll start with the employee newsletter. This is going to kind of flip through magazine style so you can look through it. But this is what ours kind of looks like. We use a platform called Issue, and it kind of gives this magazine style here. It's all digital, but we have all kinds of information in here, information about our capital improvement projects, purchasing. We like to have fun things like Employee Pet of the Month. We have an employee shout out section that's for employees, from employees. We have a newsletter game, which I'll talk about in a little bit, but keeping employees updated on what events are happening and our new hires and who's retiring this month, and things like that. So those were kind of just some of the sections that we identified, but you scan that QR, it'll take you to our archive of newsletters, so you can look through all of our past ones that we have. We've been doing this for a while now, and we see a lot of engagement with it. And with Issue, you can read all of the insights, who's clicking on what links, what are employees actually finding important. If they're not clicking on the employee newsletter game, well, then why are we doing it? So it gives us really good data to back up our initiative and why we're implementing these things. So talking about the newsletter highlight, we do a game every month. And so we were kind of in this place of like, okay, at the beginning, how are we going to get employees to actually click on this employee newsletter and engage with it? Because at the end of the day, not all of the people in our organization have time to sit there and read a newsletter, or they want to read a newsletter or find benefit in it. And so we're like, how can we make this engaging? How can we get our employees involved, give them a gift, just get their attention? And so we do an employee game every month. Sometimes it's fun content. Sometimes this one was Harry Potter themed, because it was, I think it was Halloween time around October. But, and then sometimes we do like little quizzes, like, do you know who's in office? Do you know your city manager? Do you know your council members? Do you know what leadership you're working under? And so we can kind of tailor it to what's going on that month. And so that's been really fun. Employees engage with it every single month. We have so many people send in the newsletter game. So the first 10 people that complete it successfully, we have some people that submit it unsuccessfully, but the first 10 people that submit it successfully, they get a newsletter prize. And it kind of switches up on what they get. We've done small things like just some chocolates, like a pen, a notepad. But this month that you can see pictured, we did a mug, and it says world's best employee, and then it crossed out and says world's best public servant. Anyway, our team members absolutely loved it. It was a huge hit. So we try to have fun with it. And it's also a really good opportunity for us to get out of our seats, go visit the 10 people that won and connect with them, and just show them that, there's a face to communications, and we appreciate the work that you're doing here. So employee newsletter distribution, this is a big one, and this kind of ties into email, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but we developed an employee communications email. And so we send out all of our employee communications through this one centralized email. And so our employee newsletter, same thing, it goes out through this email. We send it out with a little synopsis, and then through Issue, the application that we use, we can download this little GIF or GIF. I don't know how you say it. I say GIF, but I don't know, to kind of just be more engaging. It's not just like a link that people aren't going to click on. It catches their eye. They can see it flipping through. They'll see someone's face that they know on it. They're going to click on it more likely and then engage with it. So this is kind of how we send it out now. People have started to recognize employee communications email. They know it's a trusted source. They know that if it's coming from employee communications, it's from leadership, it's from communications, it's from, it's something they need to lock into and read. So employee newsletter content. Now, this is a big one because I'm sure you're all asking, that's so great, Ambry. How are you getting people to submit things and getting that content? Because we're all so busy. We have things to do. We already have a full plate. I hear you. I hear you. I hear you. Our team is the same way. And so we developed this newsletter form. And so we already used Cognito forms for external distribution. All of our Cognito forms are embedded on our website. We use them for legal. We use them for housing, community development. They're used across the city. So we were like, okay, we have this external application we're already using. Why can we not use it internally? So we created an internal form for employee newsletter suggestions. On the side here, you can see just kind of some of the things we ask for. Employee Pet of the Month, shout outs, photos, awards. If our employees are attending conferences, we want those photos. We want to feature them. And so those are kind of just some of the more fun ones, but you can see on the form here, we have reoccurring monthly sections. And so that's for our departments like HR, IT, purchasing, those people that we know are going to have monthly information that they're needing to get out to the employees. They have their own section there. They can drop down, click their section, and the person who's putting the newsletter together doesn't have to think about it. They know where it goes. They pop it in the template, and it's ready. And so we've seen really great results with this. We send out a reminder monthly to departments to remember to submit their content. And this is another big reason why it worked for us to live in communications, is because we have a centralized communications department. So our teams are connecting with departments pretty much daily. We have monthly meetings with them to talk about their goals and initiatives and how our communications team can support them in getting the message out. And so any communication that comes from the city, it's coming from our department. So we have a good pulse already on what's going on. What are the events coming up? How can we get departments connected with departments? Because that was another huge gap that we had identified. We have departments in this we have teams in this department that are hosting an event as the same day as this team and this department, and they're not collaborating, and it's about the same Earth Day topic, or there was just a lot of disorganization in the organization. And so us being centralized has been so helpful, so that we can talk to departments and say, hey, did you know that another department's also hosting an event on the same day, or they're trying to get out the same message that you're getting out? How can we collaborate? And so this has been super helpful for that too as well, because we can lock into, okay, that department submitted something. We need to make sure that this is in there as well. How can we make sure that all this information is making sense? And so some months, I'll be honest, we do not get anything. And some months we get a whole newsletter worth. And so sometimes we do have to fill those gaps as a team. But I think that's just, again, like I said, another reason why it made sense for communications to take the lead on this, because we're already in the know on everything that's going on. Hopefully. We all know people withhold information, but for the most part. So moving on to our employee intranet, this is our old one. We house ours on SharePoint. And so I don't know about y'all's teams, if y'all even have an employee intranet, but previously ours was just words pretty much on a screen. It wasn't super categorized. It wasn't easy to find information. You would click into these links and it would go to like another link that has just a document library that you had to just comb through to find the one purchasing document you needed. There's no photos. It just wasn't being used as a resource and a tool that our employees were using. It was truly a purchasing platform to keep their documents and policies, and no one was using it as a resource unless they needed something. So mostly leadership or our executive supports and things like that were looking for those kind of documents. And so we were like, okay, how can we make this engaging, collaborative, and something that our employees are using to be involved and engaged in the organization? And so employee information portal. So we did a refresh, we did a full redesign, and we came up with this. And so it is more visual. We have employee photos. Employee opens this and they see their own face, or they see their colleague's face, and they're already more engaged in what we have to say. It's way more interactive, and it's just laid out more easily for people to click on the exact link they need to find what they need. And so Each of these links down here, they go to exactly what it says. Employee resources, employee logins. They can easily log into their applications as they need to. At the bottom, we have the facilities map, a holiday schedule, quick access to benefits. We have a tab at the top that goes to employee resources. So this is mostly for our other external departments. So finance and purchasing, our marketing team does have a section as well for newsletter submissions, to access our brand box, which we'll talk about, IT, a spot for feedback. All of our policies are housed on here. And then of course we have a spot at the bottom for our civil service employees as well. So any meet and confer agreements or eligibility requirements, anything like that is on here as well. And then we also have a spot for our HR department. Again, very collaborative with them. They needed a designated spot for all of their discounts and wellness and benefits and open positions and an HR directory. And then of course we always highlight an open position on here as well, so that you know, people see that positions are open and maybe they want to transfer departmentally, or they know someone that's a good fit. And then we have a space for our new hires. As soon as anyone's hired, they can come on here and they can watch a video from our city manager, read a letter from her, feeling already connected to the organization right away. And just a reminder of our vision and priorities, what it means to be a City of Temple employee, what that means as you know, a person in our community. We refer to our employees as brand ambassadors because 9 times out of 10, they're the ones talking to residents, our customer care team or our waste service, our streets team. They're the ones that have residents coming up to them and asking questions. And so we push how important it is to be a brand ambassador, to feel connected to your organization, and to know what it means to be an employee. And you know, the weight of that sometimes, and how to handle those situations. And so we always have our brand on here, and we push that to them all the time, and just how important it is to know you know, the values of your organization. So that leads us to our new employee toolkit, which is another way that we help employees feel connected on their very first day of work. This right here is kind of a mock-up. You can scan that QR code and it'll take you to this mock-up here to flip through the pages. But this is a toolkit that employees get on their very first day of employment. When they go to HR, they go to our team, their people operations, but go to that team and they can hand them this and they can have all of the information that they need to be successful here. They have a welcome letter from our city manager. They have access to the employee information portal, benefits information, a map of our facilities. I mean, I'm sure everybody here can align with that. Not everybody works in one building sometimes. Sometimes you have people working at a Parks and Rec building, or you have people working in different offices around. And it's hard for employees to know where to go or navigate going to a meeting somewhere. And it's things that you don't think about until you're in it and you're lost in the city you live in or the county or wherever you are. And so we have this facilities map to help people navigate where to go. And then, of course, important dates like your pay schedule and all of the holidays and things like that. And then, of course, in here as well, we have our One Brand, One Temple, what it means to be an employee here, and how to stay connected with us. Because if our internal employees aren't staying connected, how can we expect residents or external people to stay connected with us? So there's just kind of a closer look. Ours is done by kind of a gradient effect there. So our pages kind of get smaller. Our graphic design team did an amazing job on this, and it took quite a bit of time to figure out what pages needed to go in here, what was important to leadership, what did HR identify as the gaps that they're hearing from employees on the first day, what are they confused about, and how can we communicate that effectively to them on, you know, on their first day of employment. So just to talk about a couple other tools that have really made a difference in our program, in our internal communications, in relationships. Number one is our citywide email, which I talked about earlier, is our IMCOM email is what we call it. It stands for Employee Communications. We were receiving emails from every single person in this city. I mean, anybody that had a city email could send a citywide email. we were having people post their potlucks and their all these things. And so we were like, no wonder people aren't reading what's coming into their inbox. They're getting all of this spam or things that don't apply to them, and they're just deleting things. So we developed IMCOM, and so only select people have access to send emails from this. So that would be our IT department, the internal or our communications team, our HR team, of course, city manager, leadership. So if anybody needs an email sent out citywide, it comes through the communications team first. IT has theirs because they are allowed to send outages and things like that that they need to get out in a timely manner. But any communication comes through our communications team. We have eyes on it. We can make sure it's aligning with what our brand voice is, how we want to communicate to our employees. Are we being strategic? Are we being clear? Because if we're not being clear and concise, they're not reading it. No one's reading it. If it's 7 paragraphs long, they're deleting it and moving on. So that has been super, super effective for our team and our organization as a whole to make things more streamlined and centralized. The next is employee text messaging. This is something that's coming soon for us. We have Dayforce, which is our HR platform where people log in, get their benefits, things like that. And so we'll be able to send out text messages to employees. And so that kind of helps us fill that gap with those frontline employees that don't have email. Unfortunately, we're just not there yet as an organization, but we're working toward that. But the text messaging is going to be so, beneficial for our organization to be able to text those employees that are on the front line. They can get the employee newsletter digitally. They can get any emergency text updates about facility closures or about, any other emergency that's happening in the city. Speaking of emergency, I'm sure you can hear the fire truck that's leaving right now. But yes, it's going to be super helpful, and so we're super excited about that. But there are other platforms that you can use for that, Slick Text and things like that. Same thing with the emails. If you're not feeling like it needs to come from that, you can set up automated emails through MailChimp or Constant Contact or Contact Monkey. There's so many options to communicate to employees through one email effectively. I just wanted to mention that how important it is to just meet your employees where they're at. I started internal communications and have grown such a passion for it because you create such great relationships when you are able to go connect with employees doing their job where they're at. And just like this photo on the screen of these two, this is 2 guys from our fleet team. We get asked all the time, how did you get them to pose like that? Like, how did you get them to do that? That is unheard of. And truly, 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 it is all about relationship building, because what we have found is the more relationship building you do internally, the more those departments are going to trust you with their information. They're going to trust you to loop you in early. They're going to trust you to communicate their department needs, their changes, their emergency comms, so much more. And so communicating internally and connecting internally is going to lead to better external communication and better external connection with your residents. And so even things like little YouTube short videos. I know government, we can't have TikTok and do that fun thing, but we have done YouTube reels where they have like a little playlist that's called COT Staff Stream. And so we go out and we take fun videos of our employees and just connect with them and get them to trust us in a way that's different than, can you send me this information? Can you answer this media inquiry? Can you answer these questions at the Telegram or whoever your local paper sent you? It's so important to make a connection on a different level. So even bathroom stalls, we know our frontline employees, they're not sitting at a desk all day, but they have to go to the bathroom at some point. So we started a bathroom campaign where we have bathroom, just the clear things and slip papers in there and communicate with them that way sometimes. Have QR codes to our employee newsletter. They can access the employee newsletter without a city email. It's public. So if they want to access that, they can. So just thinking outside of the box and thinking of ways to connect with them. And I know it's so hard to get out from behind your desk, and I totally get it. we're constantly putting out fires all day. We're answering emails. We have a to-do list and we never make it to it because we had to put out 7 fires this morning and answer 20 calls. So it's hard, and it does take a lot of intentionality with it. But I think that just goes back to finding out where it fits in your organization and who has time for it, to help it be successful. So kind of jumping back, we wanted to mention this because this isn't necessarily internal communications, but it's an internal resource that helps us externally as well. So this is our brand box. It's also housed on SharePoint. And so this is something our communications team developed, since we are a centralized communications department. Every communication, every printed material, everything has to come through us. And so sometimes we're overloaded and we are like, departments shouldn't have to reach out to us to get a business card, to get a flyer, to get a holiday closure sign, to get a PowerPoint template or email signature, those small things that we can create this document library. They can go to it, find what they need, and they're on their way. So that's what the brand box is for us. This is an internal tool for our employees. It lives on the employee information portal. But employees can find anything they need here. They can find anything. They can find our community engagement plan, our media training, our website editor training, note cards, letterheads, like anything that they would need, they can go here and find it. And so this has been super helpful for our internal comms team, to help employees follow our brand guidelines, again, to be connected, to all be talking from one voice, to all have the same email signature, to all feel like we're one organization externally, and how that's viewed externally. So departments are on brand with this. They know it's templetx.gov/brand. They joke about it all the time because they ask for things and I'm like, oh, that's in the brand. And before I can even stop, they're like, brand box. So it's kind of become a joke, but they're used to it. They go here to find things, and it's used as a true resource for us. Just wanted to mention a couple other things we do internally, just kind of engage with our employees and just build those connections. Bring your child to work day. This is something our HR department takes the lead on, but we definitely participate in it. Just another way for employees to feel connected to their organization, have their kids come here and do their job for a day. We have stations that they walk around to and they get to learn about how government works, how city works. They get to get in the fire truck and sit in a brush truck and operate the utilities robot that goes in the sewer. Like, they get to do everything, and it's such a fun day of engagement and connection. So our team personally, we do design your city logo. We do set up a whole interview. We have the backdrop, step and repeat behind them. We do the full DSLR camera, mic. It's so fun. They have fun with it. The other one is new employee orientation. We currently do these quarterly. Again, HR takes the lead on these, but every department comes to these employee orientation and they tell employees what their department does, how they connect city services, and how they connect to their department. And again, reiterating what it means to be a city employee. The other one is our communication citywide trainings. So this is something our our communications team takes the lead on, not internal, but so media training is from our PR team. They do a media training with all of our city leadership. And this is telling them how to talk to media. This is telling them, if a media source comes to you, what do you do? If a newspaper reaches out to you and sends you an email, what do you do? How do you react? Who are you supposed to go to? And again, we're an internal centralized team. So any media inquiries, anything like that, that comes to our team. And we have trained and talked to all of our local media outlets. They know that, but sometimes people go rogue. Sometimes people, they get a new person and they don't know, and they're reaching out to departments. And so we don't want them to panic, and we don't want them to just rush an email and send something to them because they're panicked and they have a deadline. So this is to help them kind of take a breath, talk about what the process is, and for them to be comfortable with it and to know what to do. Same with the marketing trainings. This is something that has helped us with our internal departments. Departments don't know what it takes to build a social media calendar. They don't understand that when they send us 7 things that we need to post, we can't post all of them on one day or even in 1 week, because we're communicating for 20 other departments. And so having them see a content calendar and understand what it means, and how many different things we're needing to communicate. And we have this content calendar, it's built out, and then boom, we have an emergency. None of that can go out, and now we have to figure out how to restructure and reorganize. So it's helpful for them to see our processes and to understand, and again, build that communication and relationship with them, so they're understanding our processes. When we say something can't go out, or when we change language on something, it's not to be picky and not to diminish what they're doing or their work. It's for us to communicate their work effectively, where others are going to understand it. And so it just really builds that trust. So just some key takeaways to wrap up. I know it's a lot of information and kind of a lot of back and forth, but at the end of the day, do what works for your organization. It may not be something that lives in communications. It may not be something your team can take on right now. Maybe it is something that lives in HR, but how can you be collaborative with them and implement some of these things to help make that communication more effective? So that's identifying priorities. Don't try to implement 12 things and then have to take off 6 of them. That's not building trust with your organization. So choose 1 or 2 things, focus on them, do them well, do them effectively, and that's going to build trust with your organization. Figuring out where the program belongs, that's going back to what works for you. Just kind of take a look at your existing employees and positions. Who's doing the work externally? Does it make sense to live there? Can that person, take on that workload? And maybe not, but maybe that's something you can plan for in the future, and something to look forward to, and pitch to leadership and come up with this plan of why this is so important. And then meeting your employees where they're at. I know I kind of harped on that for a minute, but I just can't express it enough how important it is to go. If you can block off 1 day a month to go shadow an employee, to go sit in a garbage truck and see what they do, they will have so much respect for you, because they know that you understand, and they know that you're taking the time to understand what they do, and they'll trust you to communicate that. So just engage with employees and don't just communicate at them. Be where they are. Find out how you can connect with them. Find out how you can meet with them. Find out, and maybe that's a monthly marketing meet or communications meeting. Maybe that's just connecting with them. Maybe it's in person. Find out what works again for your organization, and how you can build internal to build external. So that's all I really have. I put my contact information here. If you want to reach out, please feel free to. I'm happy to help answer any questions. This QR code here will take you to connect with our team, and my leadership. So yes, happy to help in any way we can.
Thank you, Ambry.
Yes.
Opening it up to any questions, and while people raise their hand or unmute themselves, I do have a couple of questions. When you started, like it's always tough to start something, right? And I think we're all creatures of in the Midwest anyway. This is how I've done it. This is how I've always done it. So don't tell me how to change how I do it. Can you talk about the engagement from your employees? How it's changed from like how you started to now? Are you getting more engagement now?
Yes, we are definitely getting more engagement now. I think you're right. People are creatures of habit. And so they're taking, they're hard to get the buy-in initially, but we've noticed that once they have, and they're seeing this over and over and over and over again, building that trust, they know it's not going to end. We're seeing more people submit content. We're seeing more people engage with the emails, responding, asking questions, especially with the newsletter. It's like, okay, well, I saw people operations is in there. Why is our team not in there? Like, I'm going to submit my content. I want my employees featured. And so I think the initial buy-in is tough, but our leadership support was amazing in helping employees realize how important it is.
And then a follow-up to that, you referenced a couple of it's easy to catch new employees, right? Because they have to step foot in HR at some point for that first day. We felt that too. And then over time, knock on wood, they work here for a long time, but you tend to lose touch with them. Do you do anything with whether it's supervisor training or something to engage employees who have been here a little bit?
Yes, so that's where our media trainings come in really handy, and our marketing trainings. We do those annually right now, but those have been really helpful to just kind of reinforce our policies and procedures. And then also, our communications team meets with the departments monthly. So we have monthly regular meetings with every single department in this city. And so we're talking about processes, we're talking about what we do, how we can help them, and things like that.
Great. Rob, you have a question?
Yes. First of all, Amber, thank you so much. This is a lot of information. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious, the the feedback you got from your survey,
Mhm.
how did you hire someone to write the right questions for the survey? Because I mean, the survey is important. You got to, I mean, if we don't know what our audience needs, then we don't, it's going to save us time from not creating something that they're not going to use. So can you chat a little bit about that survey? And here's the thing too. One of the things with, we're talking about with NDPO, a lot of them are smaller, one to two people, and maybe they're wearing two hats, three, maybe more. And so how do we, what's the first thing we would, give to one of our smaller agencies, how to implement, and what should they start with? A lot of questions there, but see if you can
Yeah.
respond to those.
Yeah, absolutely. So we did we did have a consultant for our initial survey, and that was led by city manager's office and leadership, to identify the needs of our employees. And so that initial one was a consultant that came in and kind of did a full survey, and things like that. So that initial one was kind of led by them. And so that's how we got that feedback. And then from there, we've honestly just been going by the data on our newsletter, the data on how many people are responding to our emails and open rates and things like that. And that's something you can work with your IT department on figuring out who's opened your emails and things like that. And so that's kind of how we've been tracking it so far. I think we're due for another survey in our employees, to survey them and get some more feedback, but that was our initial one. And then the second question was, remind me.
Well, it just what we you talk about the Bank of Community Trust, and that's, I don't know if that resonates with you, but you alluded to trust as well too, and
Yeah.
building the trust here. But more importantly, has this increased morale,
Mm.
and how do you measure that?
That's a great question. I'm gonna say absolutely, and I don't know that I have a lot to back that up, other than the fact that we're seeing departments loop us in so much earlier. We're seeing departments reach out to us and on their initial emails are saying, "Hey, this seems like a communication thing. We need to loop them in." Or we're just seeing departments reach out to us and engage with us, and especially the leadership. I guess I can't stress that enough, from city manager's office, and leadership saying, "Hey, this is a communications thing. You need to loop them in. We need to get them in on this call." And even just engaging with them, going out and seeing executive leadership, and they're like, "Hey, communications team is here. Like, take our photo. Take our photo. We want our photo taken." So I guess that's kind of how we're measuring it right now, just
Yeah,
based
yeah.
on the trust we're feeling and the sense of community in our organization.
And then one other question before we get to Andrea. So, you know, how many are in your comms team? Your
That's a
whole
great
department.
question. That's
So
a
I'm
great
kind of curious.
question.
Okay.
Yes, I don't want to scare you because our department is in divisions. So our core marketing and digital media team, we have 3 of us on that team. And then our PR team, we have 2. So
Oh,
our
okay.
full team is large, but our communications team is about 5 of
So,
us.
okay, say Temple has this huge crisis.
Mhm.
Does this, what you're talking about, does that still continue to go on? Because I mean, if you're dealing with a crisis over 2 to 3 weeks, flooding, tornado, whatever it is, fires, how do you market? How do you keep this program internal going?
That's a great question. It takes a lot of people jumping in on our team. We do have support also from our executive support coordinator. She works
Okay.
really closely with us. So if we're like, "Hey, this newsletter needs to get out," she just jumps in. So it's really just communication within our team of like, "I need help on this project. I need someone to pick this up. Who can go out and get photos? Who has time to do this?" So I think that's also the importance of having community in in your team as well, because we're not a team that's like, hey, that's not my job, I'm not doing it. We all step in because we know, especially in those crisis comms, situations, how are we going to get this to employees as well? I mean, we're saying this stuff externally, but we need to loop in our internal employees as well. It's just as important.
Thank you, Rob. And I see real quick that Andrea had a comment there that they're looking to start a newsletter in their county, and this is very, very helpful. So,
Good.
so real good there. And then I've got it's a question, maybe more of a comment. So
Okay.
we've been doing a internal newsletter in the city of Grand Forks for a little over a year now. I got a new
Mhm.
employee on, and I'm like, hey, can you wrestle with this thing? She's come up with a really nice template. So now if she's gone, I can fill in the gaps a little bit.
Yeah.
But as far as changing your newsletter, you're a little bit, and your newsletter is much. How much freedom do you give yourselves to let's try this? Like you talked about analytics
Yeah.
of what people are going to, but sometimes they're only going to it because it's in front of them.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, we have complete control of the employee newsletters. So if we switch it up, if we want to, sometimes, at least with the game, we don't put it on the same page because we were finding that employees were going to that page only to play just the game, and that's it. So we had fun with it. I mean, we would write a write-up on a new CIP project and say, hey, the game is right here, click this link, like in the middle of the information. And so we had fun with that, just kind of hiding pieces, making it more engaging. But if we're finding that content's not working or nobody's submitting content for it, then it's obviously not important, and we take it out and we switch it up. So totally fluid with that.
Perfect. Just real quick, I see you move screens. You put your Zoom over your contact info if you want to move it real quick for people to see
sorry.
that. No. And then I've got, you talked about employees. You talked about your management team. We're in government, elected officials. Have you gotten any feedback, whether it's city council, mayors, or I don't know, maybe you have a commission. I'm not sure how that works. Any feedback from the elected people?
Just on internal communications as a whole?
Have they heard, hey, we hear good things, or why are you doing, it's sometimes if you're elected, all you see is a dollar figure and you don't see what's being done, right?
Yes.
So has that come up at all?
Yes, not too much. And sometimes if you're not hearing anything, that's good. No news is good news.
Yes, no news is good news. Yes.
So we haven't heard any pushback, or why are we doing this? Why is this an initiative? Why is this a priority? We've only received support up until this time.
Perfect.
Really, John, really quick.
Rob, yes.
If an agency is starting out, I see like with starting a new newsletter, what do you recommend? Because a lot of them are wearing two hats, one hat, and so if they want to start, what do you recommend doing first in a small agency, based upon your experience, and grow from there? Because you have a lot going, but we're looking at the end product compared to some people at the beginning. Suggestions?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, my first initial thing would be to sit down with your HR team and figure out where the gaps are. That would be my first initial thing. And maybe that's a survey, maybe that's a focus group, maybe you're getting a couple of people together, or while you're in meetings, you're just asking for feedback. That would be my thing. Already implement in where you're already at. So if you're in a meeting, just ask the question like, hey, have you heard anything from your frontline employees? Like, are they feeling disconnected? What's the pulse? Like, just do a pulse check. I would take that to your HR team and figure out, okay, where do we go? Where do we start? And again, finding out where those tactics live. Maybe it's not a newsletter for your organization. Maybe it's just doing a centralized email that's going to help drive employees to getting the information they need. So I think it's just figuring out what the needs are from your team and employees, and then getting leadership buy-in is going to be huge.
That's key, leadership buy-in. So
yeah, communicating to them. And I think the big one for us was that the fact, what I've been saying this whole presentation, but the more you connect with internal, the more we're going to get better results externally. And I think that that's like a big fact and big point to make to leadership of, we're doing these things and we're connecting internally, because if your employees don't understand what you're saying, you cannot expect residents to understand what you're saying. if I'm in, and that's what I'm always devil advocate in a meeting. If someone's saying something, I will say, I didn't understand that. Like, you're going to have to break that down to me. Don't like take the jargon out. Like, let's get down to the root, the goal. And so if we're not doing that internally, then I'm sure we're not doing it externally. So.
All right, Ambry, thank you so very much. I'm going to leave your contact info up here as we wrap things up here. Yeah, so keep sharing your screen until we're done.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I've got notes. I don't even do our newsletter, and I'm like, oh, that could be kind of fun. That could be kind of fun.
Good.
So that is great, and I think it's also sometimes you just have to start somewhere. I like you even saying smaller. Sometimes it may just be an email. That's great. Yep. So just a couple of things for our NDPIO members. This is going to be available. We'll send this out to all of our membership. Also, again, we'll leave Ambry's information up here. I expect next week we will get conference registration information out. I'm hammering out, just have a couple of slots left open, and we'll get a schedule out and everything too. I'm really excited about it this year. And Ambry, you're invited. If you can come to North Dakota when it's warm.
Okay.
We don't do the conference in the winter. So,
oh my goodness. Okay. I'm in.
There you go. All right. Thank you to Ambry Dunn from Temple, Texas. Thank you for joining us, and we'll wrap up this training, and we'll catch you training next April 16th at the National Weather Service. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Andrew.